Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a question for each one of the witnesses, and I'm looking forward to this. I've had a chance to visit with some, and let's start off with you, Ms. Fox. The WOTUS rule that was in place prior to the last administration was one that we had a real concern with out in Oklahoma, and that was primarily that we had the idea that the state regulation of the water was working very well in our state of Oklahoma, and there is a fear that with the regulation coming from Washington, that even out, we're a pretty rare arid state. You get out in the panhandle of Oklahoma, it doesn't get a lot drier than that. And they're saying that they felt that under the federal rules that probably end up being a wetland and it'd be over-regulated. So I'd just like to know the specific on the rules that Trump replaced WOTUS with. What specific things about that did you find, do you find to be objectionable, if any?
Thank you for the question, Senator. You know, I think the example that you just shared from your home state of Oklahoma is exactly why, if confirmed, I would really manage the Office of Water in a way that really tried to understand the wisdom, the voice, and the lived practical experience of people in complying with our rules. I bring that orientation because I worked at a local water agency that had to comply with all of the things that Office of Water did. Yeah. And so, you know, to your question specifically, you know, as we have been conducting our review of both the 2015 rule and the 2020 rule, really at the direction of Administrator Regan, we have found implementation challenges with both of the rules. You know, just one example, for example, with the 2015 rule, there were a lot of case-specific determinations, jurisdictional determinations, and what we found from listening to folks in states is that was really cumbersome from an implementation perspective. That's what our career staff have heard. At the same time, you know, I think the 2020 rule tried to correct for that. But now what we're hearing, our career staff are hearing from several states is now we have, you know, the vast majority of waters in some of the states that are now not jurisdictional. And so it's raising a different kind of implementation challenge as far as water quality protection. And I think,
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I know that I've got to get around to all three of them.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate your comments, and particularly in your opening statement. I enjoyed that. And so I will look forward to working with you, and if you don't behave, I'm going to talk to your daddy, okay? All right, that's good. Now, we want to real quickly go to Ms. Estenos on the lesser prairie chicken. I know you're fully familiar with that. You and I had a chance to visit about that. But we're facing something right now that in a federal court in Texas throughout the threatened listing for the prairie chicken. The reason at that time they didn't think that the conservation efforts that were just really impressive were really considered at that time. Now we're talking about 5 states were involved in this thing, and you and I had a chance to talk about that. So I would just like to kind of get your input into how much weight are you going to attach to the efforts of conservation efforts of the 5 states in terms of your jurisdiction.
Senator Inhofe, thank you so much. Thank you for the time you spent with me talking about this and other issues. I very much appreciate it. We are under a court deadline to issue a 12-month finding near the end of the month. And what I would say is that the conservation efforts of states, private landowners, are central, really, to our any hope that we have for recovering species before they're listed or whether they're listed or not, regardless of their conservation status. And so you gave me good counsel yesterday to reach out and learn more about those conservation efforts. I've already taken steps just in the last 24 hours to begin that dialogue, and And I think that's really where the hope for the lesser prairie chicken lies, is in our collaborative efforts to recover that species.
Okay, that's good, and we'll be visiting with you, and I appreciate it very much. I have every reason to believe that you will take great consideration of the input that is out there.
Thank you, sir.
Then, last but not
Yeah,
least,
well, your time's expired, but go ahead, if you'll just briefly,
Well,
and then we're
this will
going to have a
this will be
second
real
round.
short here.
Have a second round as well.
I have a picture here I want everyone to look at. And I want you, my little girls here, Zahava and Rena, to listen to what I'm saying. Your mama probably is the only person in America that will have equal praise from Senator Markey and me. Okay? And I say that in all honesty because we've worked so well together. In fact, we shared some credit. I've often said I felt that I was more responsible for getting Barbara Boxer to come with us on the chemical legislation. And they all now are giving you that credit. So I'm not sure. I think we shared that credit at that time. And I have always enjoyed working with you, and certainly do. I'd like just to have just any comment you can make to update us as to what we're going to be doing with the prairie chicken. You know, and I both know all the background of that, and I'd like to see, where you think we're going to be on that issue.
And I'd ask you to be very brief, if you will, please.
I'm hoping that I don't have to talk about the prairie chicken for the entire 4 years that I spent in the Biden administration if I'm confirmed, so.
That was pretty brief, and that's to the point. I think she got her message across. That was lovely. I'm glad that you asked for the extra time. And we'll come back to you for a second round, Senator Inhofe.
We will.